Oh, my hair looks red in that.
It does look red in this light.
Yeah.
Powered by Riverside.
Welcome, everybody. It is week 9, and my camera's doing something weird. It is week 9 of college football. Welcome to the 4th and 1 podcast, anchor.fm/4th and 1 on Instagram at 4th and 1 podcast. Like I said, this is week 9. We are back. We are better than ever. Why is this a how dare I?
I don't know. I just wanted to add it.
You're just throwing things in. Excellent. So you're late to the party, and now we're just throwing random sound bites in.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
That is clearly our longest soundbite.
Yeah, but I like the cough, and the cough was perfectly timed. It is Prove It week in the Big Ten. Big Ten takes center stage end of October through November. It is the round robin everyone's been waiting for in the Big Ten East. Ohio State plays Penn State. Michigan plays Michigan State, and then we go on from there. So this week, lots of playoff implication, lots of title implication, lots of conference championship implication, not to mention Minnesota in the Big Ten West. Iowa, that game in 2 weeks looks pretty good. So the Big Ten, well on its way to being the conference of November. I am excited for it. However, I am already in despair because as a Michigan fan, I know what's coming. We'll get into that a little bit later. My man, Simeon, he is with us.
Hello.
How are we doing? You said you had a rant about the NCAA. Why don't you start with that?
Oh. Sorry, Mom. Okay, this is why. Let me let you into my mind a little bit. I mean, you're already there, so let me let the listeners into my mind a little bit. I really like soccer for relegation. I don't like it that they don't have a cap, a salary cap. I also like it that they don't have a salary cap. Anyway, here's the dealio: is the NCAA needs relegation. It came out last week that the conference, what was it? Conference USA is gaining all of them. The Sun Belt will be losing. I think that's correct.
Nope, it is
It
not.
is the other way around.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
I have to pull it up. The thing that I sent you here. It's not that far back here. Standings. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. Saturday. We sent a lot of text on Saturday apparently. Just going to go ahead and piss down your leg. There it is. Conference USA future in doubt with 4 teams expected to join the Sun Belt. I got my conferences backwards. Those are 4 teams with 3 more, 2 in the Sun Belt, 1 FCS school most likely going to be joining them next week. That FCS school being one of me and Micaiah's favorites that we will have to go to at some point again.
James Madison.
The James Madison Dukes. The purple and gold. Shout out to Alex Messina. And here's what made me think about this is for James Madison, this is like absolutely crappy. It's great because they're moving from FCS to FBS, but they're moving to not the best division. Now, more recently, except with Coastal Carolina's loss this week, it hasn't been good. So, Simeon, get to the point. Why do you hate the NCAA?
Please.
I don't hate the NCAA. I specifically hate Mark Emmert and the $2.6 million he made last year on the backs of 18 to 22 to 24-year-olds. And here's why. He makes his money off of the backs of 18 to 24-year-olds. Now, granted, most people do in the United States who work in college and college campuses. You can say that about Jim Harbaugh, Nick Saban, whoever you want to. Here's the deal, though. Nick Saban isn't the one making the rules for all these people. And you make all this money and you don't care about the players. He just got freaking I'm mad at like the freaking AD for University of Wisconsin because he just got a contract extension for 2020 to 2026. He made in 2020, he made $2.2 $6 million off of kids not being able to play. And we didn't know shit in 2020.
Sorry, Mom.
We didn't know anything, so we didn't know if they were all gonna die. So these kids went and put their lives on the lines because they wanted to, for the love of the game. And this guy doesn't care. Michigan State sex scandal, the Jerry Sandusky sex scandal, all horribly mismanaged under his administration, and they can do better. That's why I bring up relegation. Sports, and specifically college sports in America, could be so much better, but we have Mr. Emmerich over here jacking himself off with his oodles of cash that he's making
Sorry, Mom.
off of the backs of 18 to 24-year-olds, because why not? Yes, I get it. You let name, image, and likeness in. Yes, I get it. You made stuff easier. I don't care. I don't know what even you did this year.
Actually, technically, he didn't even let name, image, and likenesses. He's leaving it up to the states, and he
That's
only
right.
had to do that because Congress passed the bill.
Yeah. So I'm just very upset at how poorly administrated the NCAA is. Yes, I do think I could do it better. No, I don't think I would have to be a chancellor or a president of a state in order to do it. But we're not going to know, because this stupid guy in Indianapolis, not Pat McAfee, just does whatever the
Ooh.
F he wants, because he can, and we don't care, because all these schools make all the money. And that's all we care about in the United States. We don't care about kids being okay. Like, yeah, make your money, but let a private business do it. Let school be about school. And if all the sports, I love all the sports. Don't get me wrong. I love all the sports. I love the fan bases. I think college sports is the greatest thing in America. But you don't get to just do it because you want to make money. You have to do it for the love of the kids. You have to do it for the love of the game. And you're the National Collegiate Athletic Association, not the suck my dick because I make all the money. That's the end of my rant.
Sorry, Mom.
All right. Well, yeah. So I'm not really sure what brought this on, but points were made. Thank you. You're a little late to the party here. I've been on the Mark Emmerich rant for,
You want to know what brought this on? The fact that James Madison is going to screw themselves over because they're going to the Sun Belt instead of the ACC
the AAC. You mean?
or the AAC.
No, I don't hate it because that's where Appalachian State is. The Sun Belt is a nice kind of. I don't hate it. We have different opinions on that. I think
Sun Belt is. I'm not trashing the Sun Belt. This is what I'm trashing. If there was relegation in 2007, is that when they beat Michigan?
Yep.
And then didn't the year after that they beat Penn State?
I have no idea. No. They beat Penn State
Or it was
once
the other
they
way
were.
around.
They were
beat Penn-
they were in the FBS when they beat Penn State.
That's right. They moved up like 4 years after that in like 2012 or something like that. If there was relegation, I don't know, like maybe a third to a quarter of those players on the defense and offensive side of the ball at Appalachian State that year that they beat Michigan went on to be in the NFL, which means they were NFL caliber players at an FCS school at the time, which means they could, if they got relegated up, if they got promoted somehow into the top 25, Appalachian State possibly could have gone on a run. We don't know.
Yeah. Correct. I mean, Appalachian State went on to win the FCS championship that year. It's kind of difficult because you do get these one of these lightning in the bottle things. Now, more recently, it's kind of been, you can see that the talent level is starting to be more equal. Like Iowa State always loses to or is in a close game with some FCS school every year.
Right.
The Big Ten really since 2007 has really all but outlawed FCS schools playing in the Big Ten. Not only because they're afraid because these FCS schools might beat a Michigan again, but because of the brand, it's not good. It doesn't make for good ratings. But other teams or other conferences like the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 still play FCS schools and just route them but they have to pay the schools to come in and get absolutely blown up. So Michigan, when they played Appalachian State, they probably paid them at least $250,000 to come in and beat them.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying. Yes, Mark Emmert, he is worse than Roger Goodell. People need to get on board with that. I understand. I understand what brought this on. I'm just a little confused by it when we have such a big week ahead of us in college football. Kind of derailed us a little bit, but that's why we're the worstest podcast on the interwebs, because that's the kind of stuff we do.
And we move on from it. So
and we move on. Alrighty. Well, Simeon already touched on it, but I'm going to touch on it again. Florida Atlantic University, Charlotte, North Texas, UTSA, Roadrunners, ain't no by the way. Rice, UAB, all joining the ACC from Conference USA. And then it gets worse for Conference USA. Southern Miss also goes from Conference USA to the Sun Belt. So the Conference USA is down to, I believe, 6 teams, and you have to have 6 teams to automatically qualify for March Madness. So this really doesn't affect football all that much. Well, I mean, it does in a sense, but this affects March Madness. So there are 6 other teams. Conference USA is looking at FCS schools. It's looking at some schools from other conferences. It's looking at a lot of independents right now, Liberty being the main one, Army being also in there. So, but I do agree that Mark Emmert has done a bad job. Kind of, he leaves everything up to the conferences. There's no oversight in these teams moving, and now you might have a death of a conference that has produced some good football schools. I mean, there's no... They produce good football. I mean, UTSA, there ain't no. FAU, they've been solid when Lane Kiffin was there. Charlotte's been solid. North Texas, UAB didn't have a program 4 years ago, and now they won Conference USA a couple years ago, and they have this brand new stadium, and you're just letting... I mean, the AAC, we said at the beginning of the year, might be better than the Big 12 top to bottom, the AAC. And so this is not a joke of a conference, and so... This conference thinks that these teams in Conference USA can compete both academically and athletically on the field to their standards. And so I think it's really interesting. Southern Miss to the Sun Belt. I mean, I honestly think that the Sun Belt is going to be the new AAC here in a minute. The Big 12, we'll have to see how the competition with that shakes out. I think the BYU transaction, as it were, them really joining the conference really makes them look good. People are like, well, Cincinnati, it's going to be a good pick for Cincinnati. Well, the thing is, once Luke Fickell leaves, is Cincinnati really going to be the same team? I highly doubt it. But
where are the other schools going? I thought they were going to the Sun Belt. I thought they were all going to the Sun Belt. Isn't that what the article says? Aren't all of those schools going to the Sun Belt?
No, the FAU, Charlotte, North Texas, UTSA, Rice, UAB are joining the AAC.
Oh.
Yeah.
I missed that, but that's because a bunch of their schools are leaving to join
the Big 12, right? And then the Sun Belt just poached Southern Miss from Conference USA. So the Sun Belt is getting stronger because Southern Miss is a quality school there. All right, Matt Wells, staying in that. Matt Wells, the head coach of Texas A&M.
Nope.
Woo! Texas Tech is out. He has been fired. They are 5-3 on the season. So, Mr. Cumbie, the ex-quarterback, will take over. The offensive coordinator will take over head coaching duties. Matt Wells was 13-17. Really what got him fired, even though he's having a winning season, is the fact that he is... in conference play, he's been absolutely trash. Like, he's won very little conference games, and so you have to compete in your conference in order to keep your job. Simeon, you heard Tom Brady threw for 600 touchdowns.
Yeah, all to Mike Evans, apparently.
Yeah, he is the first quarterback to do so. Mike Evans then promptly gave the ball away to a fan. So, that ball is worth an estimated $1 million. So what they did to get... Sorry, my dog. In order to get the ball back, they negotiated. He is going to get Tom Brady helmet and jersey.
Fair.
Mike Evans jersey and cleats signed. Another game ball. A Bitcoin from Tom Brady.
Dang.
$1,000 to the Buccaneers team store. 2021 and 2022 Buccaneers season tickets. And I like that this is Tom Brady negotiating all of this. Like, the Buccaneers just came in and just gave the keys to the franchise to Tom Brady and be like, you know what? Just do whatever you want as long as you win us Super Bowls. So anyway, this fan does work out. He also got like I said, a game ball signed by a bunch of the players. And people are saying, well, he should have held out, and made Tom Brady pay him $1 million. I like what this fan did. And I really like what the Buccaneers and Tom Brady and Mike Evans did to comp this guy. Listen, this guy, it's worth more, that interaction and that experience, way more than holding onto the ball. Because I think if you hold on the ball and be like, no, make Tom Brady pay me $1 million for the 600 touchdown pass, like, you look like an asshole.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you, kids, don't be an asshole.
The guy
and great things happen to you.
The guy who, he has a big YouTube channel now, baseball YouTube. He ended up catching Derek Jeter's, like, whatever that was. It was like his 1,000th run or whatever.
Okay.
Like, this huge milestone. Dude still looks like an asshole. Like, to this day.
Because he held it.
He held on to it and made them, like, donate, like, $150,000 in order for them to get the ball back. Like, it was a huge deal in Yankeedom. So, yeah, anyway.
Well, and all of this stuff that he got is actually worth more, because if he would have held on to it and made Tom Brady give him $1 million, he would have been taxed on that.
Yeah.
You can't get taxed on memorabilia. You can't get taxed on gift cards.
Right.
As long as he just doesn't sell it. And as soon as Tom Brady retires, the Tom Brady helmet and jersey are going to be worth more than the ball combined. So the dude made out. All right, the NFL has done a couple things that has raised some eyebrows here. So the NFL is not releasing the report of sexual misconduct in the workplace that they are currently investigating for the Washington football team. Roger Goodell says it is because they want to protect the individuals. That's a bunch of bullshit. It's because the owners don't want him to, because I'm sure it goes on in all 32 teams. The lawyer then for the people who came forward said no, they want this report to be exposed. They want everyone to know what kind of goes on in these workplaces. So again, Roger Goodell looks like the bad guys, but this is all the owners just pulling the strings of Roger Goodell. Also, the NFL changed the Rooney Rule to, the Rooney Rule is franchises have to interview one minority coach in their head coaching cycle. Now they must interview at least two. And there has been some debate whether, because coaches are hired so fast, whether this has actually been going on. Probably not. Teams are working their way around it. Teams always do.
Well,
all I know,
the
enemy
for that was sorry to interrupt, but that was the speculation when he didn't get hired last year. There's a speculation of like, oh, all these teams were just saying that they were going to interview him because he was black, and so that's what they did. No one was actually going to hire him.
The Eric Bieniemy thing is kind of interesting because you're technically not allowed to accept a job until you're out of the playoffs. So you can only agree in principle, but the problem is if Eric Bieniemy is going to the AFC Championship game every year and going to the Super Bowl every year, teams don't want to miss out on a head coach. If teams don't want to be sitting there with no head coach at Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden he wins the Super Bowl and is like, you know what? Like, say if the Texans and the Dolphins or the Texans and whoever interview him and both the teams are sitting there, well, one's going to lose out. One needs a head coach, so you have to pick. And then say the Dolphins hire a head coach and the Texans are sitting there, well, then the Texans are just hoping that he doesn't renege and stay an offensive coordinator in Kansas City, because let's be honest, who wants to be a coach in Houston right now with no quarterback, with the Deshaun Watson scandal going on where your team sucks?
No draft picks, yeah.
No first round draft picks. So who wants to do that? So it's interesting. He does need to be a head coach somewhere, Eric Bieniemy. I would like it, if Harbaugh ever left, for Eric Bieniemy to come to Michigan. He's pretty creative. So that is the check down, ladies and gentlemen. That is brought to you by you, the fans. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are also on YouTube. Well, that's where you can like and subscribe, but you can also listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Week 8. I said it on Instagram that I gave week 8 the podcast host curse. I was blessed with that. I said there would be no good games. We both actually said that. And then what happened? The noon o'clock hour, Penn State lost.
Yep.
Michigan was in a fight for a half. Sorta. Oklahoma was down 17-0 at half.
Appalachian State beat Coastal Carolina.
Appalachian State beat Coastal Carolina. That was on Wednesday that happened.
Yeah. And we recorded on Tuesday last week, so that would be, we didn't know that was going to happen.
The Big Ten officials were complete garbage.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, we'll get that. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. I'll let you talk.
You're good.
But the noon o'clock. Cincinnati was in a fight with Navy and did not get any style points, and that's what Cincinnati needs right now is style points. They pulled out a win, but they only won by 7 to a 1 and now 6 Navy team who all they can do is run the football.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What looks worse? Cincinnati's win over Navy, or the fact that Oklahoma was losing to Kansas for a quarter?
I'm going to go with Cincinnati. Close win to Navy. Everyone has made this point, and I agree. The week prior, Oklahoma, Caleb Williams. It was Caleb Williams' first start. They were playing in Norman, Oklahoma at 7 p.m. It was rocking. The fans were in checkered pattern around the field. It was loud. It was exciting. There was a lot of points being thrown up on both sides. It was an exciting game to watch. Oklahoma dominated. And then you go to 11 o'clock kick because they're in Kansas. So it's Central Time. It's Kansas. So it's like a quarter of the stadium's full. Everyone, even the Kansas fans, aren't going to cheer and scream loud for Kansas.
Yeah.
You get this, it kind of, Kirk Herbstreit talked about this. It lulls you to sleep a little bit until something kind of hits you and you find yourself down 17-0 and you're like, wait a minute. We need to wake up and play. Oklahoma went on to score 35 second half points and come away with the W. But again, Cincinnati, you had the entire game. What really concerned me was you were leading by 17 at one point. It was 10 to 27. And then Navy crept their way back in, and Navy actually got a touchdown late to bring it within 7, got the onside kick, now threw an interception their next play because all they do is run and they can't throw. So that was it. However, that was a lot of fun. But no, that's a good question. I think, though, I think Oklahoma this week, you can't have back-to-back weeks of that if you're Oklahoma, right? Now, Cincinnati, you can't have back-to-back weeks of this either. But why this hurts so much more for Cincinnati is because you're the AAC. You have to have style points because your biggest opponent, your two biggest opponents actually, are playing this week, SMU and Houston. One you might not even face until the conference championship game. And so if you're Cincinnati, we'll get to this. Who do you root for in that game? I don't know.
You
You root
Just
for
to
a
go-
tie?
no, you root for SMU. 'Cause that will look like your stronger win. Shout out to Houston, by the way. Also, OT 31-24 win against Eastern Carolina. Another game. I'm looking down here at these games that were held on Saturday, and I watched a lot of football. I don't normally watch a lot of football. I watched a lot of football. Wisconsin beating Purdue again. They were a joke. I can't believe it. Where was it? We're coming back to Ohio State later. Of course, we had the record-setting Penn State Illinois game.
Well,
Iowa State
wha-
beating Oklahoma
Why?
State.
Well, why don't we start right there with Penn State? I want to touch on that.
This is the game that I watched all the way through because I was with Penn State fans all week.
So you said Sean Clifford. I watched the last quarter because I turned the Michigan game on my phone because at this point they were just routing Northwestern and just running the football. They weren't doing anything special. And then I watched all 9 overtimes. It is a record. However, while it is a record, it isn't a record at the same time because now with the new overtime rules, at the third overtime, they just swap 2-point conversions. By the way, what do you think of that rule? Do you like that or no?
I do. I don't mind it. You should push it to like 3 or 4 after 3 or 4 overtimes.
Well, I mean,
Like,
that's what it
should kind of
is.
be like
It's
hockey. There is a rule in hockey. It does stand unless they rewrote the rule that if you get to like 8 overtimes in hockey, second puck comes out. That's a legit rule in hockey. Fact check me, but I'm pretty sure I looked it up, and that's still a legit rule in the sport of hockey. So, you know,
They
I
they
like that
don't
did
they
it
don't
because-
need to switch sides after every overtime though.
Yeah, and they
when
don't
they're
even
going
pick-
for
it's just like-
2-point conversion,
yeah.
pick an end zone and just
Yeah.
swap 2-point
It should-
conversions there.
Honestly, it should be like it should kind of act a little bit more like the NFL, where it's like, all right, there's one coin flip. All right, this is what we're doing. Bam, 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 and you just get 2 different tries, and you start further out. I think after 10, you should bring on the field goal kickers with no blockers, and you should start at 50 yards, and the first person to miss, the other team wins.
I liked it. Again, the only thing I didn't
did
like
too. I liked it
was that they kept literally it was a 2-point conversion, then the other team got a 2-point try, and because
then
it
we
was
walked all
Illinois
the
and,
way down to the
and then
field.
we took 5 minutes to walk and switch end zone. I'm like, just keep it out an end zone.
Yeah.
Just pick an end. The home team gets to pick the end zone that the 2-point conversions are played in. If that's the student section, well then sucks to be Illinois because you're on the road.
And
Beat
that
them
should
in
be
regular
how it is.
time. Yeah,
It's like soccer. It's honestly more like soccer. For most of the game, your fans are on your side. You have a 12th man on the field.
Right, exactly. So that's the only thing. But anyway, let's get into the nitty gritty here because we're already at a half an hour.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Penn State, 2 Sean Clifford dependent. Also, more glaring. Where on earth is their running game? So Sean Clifford, he shouldn't have been playing. He was still hurt. You should have played the backup. Where are you? Are a top. Your offensive line. What? You ran for like 100 yards. You were terrible. Against Illinois. Then your defense to an Illinois team that only was able to rush for like 164 yards a game gave up 400 yards on the ground. Illinois only completed 35 pass yards. Are you kidding me?
No halftime adjustment. That's what the game was.
That's also what I have because I have very, very poor coaching adjustments. At one point, Dan Orlovsky, Illinois ran like this quarterback sneak in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And Dan Orlovsky goes, that's the third time they've done that this game. And no linebackers walking up over the center. No nose tackles lining up right over the center to stop this.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
I was out. I was with my fiance's family, and we were having a throwaway. You would have had a great time. But the one thing that they said, Micaiah probably uses the bathroom, is they wouldn't be upset if James Franklin took the USC job. And I'm going to say that again. They wouldn't be upset if James Franklin took the USC job.
No.
That's where Penn State fans are at.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on here because this is setting up great for James Franklin. Listen, Penn State Now, I'm not sold that Michigan will beat them, but they're looking at possibly a Michigan State loss on top of the two that they already have, a Michigan
Yep.
State loss and an Ohio State loss.
Yep.
Plus, they have some other people on their schedule that I'm sure that they can get beaten by. They're looking at a minimum probably of 4 losses. Because
Right.
they're probably beating either Michigan or Michigan State and they're losing to the other one. So they're looking at a minimum of 4 losses where you were ranked third earlier that year. That is unacceptable.
And you looked like you were ranked third.
Yes.
That's the
I mean, you fooled me.
right.
You-
Well,
you-
it really was. I think it was a mix of Sean Clifford. His arrogance carried the team. To use my
Well,
soon-to-be father-in-law's.
His baller skills.
Yeah, sure. And then poor defensive management, because that's really what that game was.
Well,
If they realized that, I've already sworn. If they realized that Illinois couldn't throw for shit, listen. When Brandon Peters loses out to a job, okay, listen. They're not going to throw the ball. They're not going to toss the rock around on you. Play man on man. Stack the box. You win to this game 21-7. And,
Well,
we're having a different conversation.
But
right
they
now.
even started doing that in the fourth quarter, and
No, they really didn't. They really didn't. They still they did the South Central, they did the Central Pennsylvania thing, and kind of like said they were gonna do it, but then backed out at the last minute because I'm too shy and I might hurt myself or I might embarrass myself, even though I live in the middle of effing nowhere.
you are
And you
worked.
might as well commit to something.
You're worked up today.
Listen, it hasn't been a good week. At work.
Did you? Well, you know what? Same there. Same here. Okay, but we need to pull this together a little bit. A little
You
bit.
like it when I'm pumped. okay?
Little bit. Pull
This
it together.
podcast
Okay.
is better because I'm pumped. Anyway, what's your next point?
Michigan and Northwestern played. Listen, we didn't learn anything new about Michigan. Dominant
Didn't.
defense, or
We learned
not
they can't
dominant.
throw the ball.
Who?
Michigan. I mean, they had a hard time. They had a hard time.
No, they
throwing the
didn't. They ran for 300 yards.
ball. Throwing the ball.
Oh,
They
throwing
had
the
a
ball.
Hard time throwing.
Not
And
really.
I think you just had 2 quarterbacks who were cold. That's honestly what it looked like.
Well, that's the thing. But anyway, we didn't learn anything new about Michigan. Well, we did learn one thing. Blake Corum, and we texted about this, would be the Heisman front runner if Hassan Haskins was not there. Nothing to take away from Hassan Haskins. Dude has 800
Dude's
yards.
a good running back himself.
He's
yeah.
sharing carries, Blake Corum, with
Yeah.
Hassan Haskins, and still leads the team in rushing and the FBS, all of college football, in touchdowns.
This would be like if, like 2012, Adrian Peterson shared the ball with like 2010 LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's about that level.
Yeah.
They ran for 300 plus yards against Northwestern. They really didn't throw it, so we'll get into Michigan State. However, what I thought was really cool is they now play for the George Jewett Trophy, which is honoring the first African American to play for both Northwestern and Michigan. He was a valedictorian at Northwestern, and he went on to med school to become a medical doctor. The trophy weighs over 90 pounds. They don't run around with it on the field. It's a locker room trophy. They just get to enjoy it in the locker room. However, J.J. McCarthy is going to take Cade McNamara's job at some point in the season, and it's going to be whenever they lose. So whether it be this week to Michigan State, or to Penn State, or to Indiana next week, or to Maryland, somewhere before the Ohio State game, J.J. McCarthy is going to take over the starting gig because it's his accuracy on the deep ball downfield. There's a reason he's a 5-star. He was a 5-star quarterback coming out of college. Micaiah, what's a 5-star quarterback? Well, Mom, for whatever reason, the high school ranking system gives these kids stars. So 1 star, you're like, you're like not recruited at all. 2-star, 3 stars, you're getting there. 4 stars, you're really good. And 5 stars, you're amazing. Thanks, Micaiah. You're welcome, Mom. Okay, so 5 stars. He's a 5-star, and it's pinpoint accuracy. And Cade if you're going to play ball control offense like Michigan does, he's got to hit it. Caleb Williams is still young. If any of you saw my Instagram video or post. You can go watch it. I really detail how he's young. They were down 10-0 to Kansas. He had a check down of Kennedy Brooks in the flat. All he had to do was dump it off to Kennedy Brooks, and Kennedy Brooks is running for 20-some yards because no one is by him. He's one-on-one with the linebacker. Kennedy Brooks is winning that 9 times out of 10. And instead he throws a deep ball for an interception. He's still young. He's still learning. Will that cost Oklahoma later down the road against an Iowa State now ranked, against an Oklahoma State? Great defense. Not so much offense, but good defense. We'll have to see. But it was really a learning process for Caleb Williams on Saturday. And, he'll get better. But there was a bunch. I clicked into the game a bunch where he would have Kennedy Brooks in the flat with no one within 15 yards. You have to dump that off. I mean, Baker's dumping that off 9 times out of 10 because that's just keep the chains moving. Cade's dumping that off. All the top quarterbacks. Stetson Bennett of Georgia. C.J. Stroud, front runner for the Heisman.
A lot of players. Move on.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. The officiating crew or the Big Ten officials.
2 games.
In the noon games.
Yeah.
They were trashing the Northwestern Michigan game. Definitely. Like they took away a Michigan sack.
Yeah.
They called pass interference on one. They didn't call pass interference on Northwestern. They spotted the ball really crappy in Michigan's favor and then in Northwestern's favor. They were really trash, though, in that Penn State-Illinois game. Big Ten. And, I mean, this has been an entire year thing.
Yeah, it was really bad. Let me explain. This will explain the worst at Penn State. Penn State was at home, so you got to hear the crowd as they were reacting to this. Goal line screen to basically Illinois was playing 8 men on the line. I'm not explaining that to you, Mom. Look it up. Where and they ran a screen out, and the wide receiver who was lined up near side on the screen just basically held the guy straight up. Didn't throw the flag. Okay, pass interference. Well, here's the deal. They did throw a flag because it was technically an ineligible receiver that they threw it to because he was past the line of scrimmage. But because he was past the line of scrimmage, that means it was pass interference. So they ended up throwing a flag. By the way, they made both of these calls. The first one was basically they were going to commercial and they made the call. And then the second one was after they they had to throw a flag retroactively because the one ref didn't realize. He did call it, but he didn't realize, oh, that's what you're saying. Okay, well then in that case this is pass interference.
Yeah, it was back-to-back plays. They ran a tight end screen and linemen were blocking downfield. I'll explain it a little better. Linemen were blocking downfield. They threw it to the tight end. So they called ineligible receivers. All the linemen were downfield. Well, it actually ended up being offensive pass interference. That's what you said. The problem is, yes, as you said, they were about to kick the extra point when all these flags came out. And then on the very next play, Illinois ran the ball into the end zone. And again, they were about to kick the extra point. And then they threw flags for holding. Like, if you're going to mess up a call, and again, the calls were legitimate. Well, the holding was not. The holding was not. They replayed, and the holding was absolute garbage. But the illegal lineman downfield and offensive pass interference, that one was legit. You gotta
it's garbage.
Yeah, you throw the flag sooner. What are we doing? Don't wait until we're kicking the extra point.
Figured it.
Wake Forest. You like that? You like that?
I don't
you
have
like
that
that?
one.
You
I
don't
can
like
write
you
that one
don't.
down.
You like that? They put up 70 on Army. Now,
Army put up 40.
Army put up 56.
Oh, that's right. It was worse. So my boss, the VP of the IT department at a high was a West Point grad. So it's interesting hearing like the coffee pot talk that they have that everybody has with him. Dude, that one was hilarious. We were texting back and forth. just for that reason, I'm not ranking them higher than Wake Forest is because they let Army put up that many points.
So Wake Forest is taking the Oklahoma of 2 years ago approach, which is all offense and very little defense. They're going to be like, yeah, well, we're going to score 49. As long as you score 48, we're golden. So, yeah. Wake Forest, though, offensive explosion. Dave Clawson definitely going to get some looks at some top level FBS schools. I'm sure he will be interviewed for both the USC and the LSU job. Pittsburgh.
The guy at the Roadrunners, but continue, keep going.
Congratulations, Pittsburgh. You didn't screw it up. Except now you have, spoiler alert, lock of the week. My lock of the week.
Oh, very nice.
You have Miami coming to town. You go from beating a perennial powerhouse who's having a very down year to now Miami, who is fighting. They're bad, but they're fight and they're scrappy and they're explosive. They found something with this Van Dyke true freshman kid. Their defense is okay, and they get turnovers. So congratulations, Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett as the moment. He's got to be in the top 2 for the Heisman.
He's looking good.
The front runner for the Heisman is definitely CJ Stroud. Simeon, say what you want. I don't care. Ohio State is like the 3rd best team in the nation. They might even be the 2nd.
I watched enough of this game. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say this.
My name is Jeff.
No, that's not actually what I'm going to say. I was a little bit wrong about Ohio State.
Little bit.
I'm still right because they haven't played a real defense yet.
Well, this week that
I'm wrong
changes.
in the fact that I don't think it's going to matter. I watched their offense.
They have,
and I don't think it's going to. Well, they have played a real defense, and it didn't work, but they haven't. So, like, when they run into Penn State next, or Michigan State next, and they beat one of those teams, then I'll be like, okay, there's your number 3 team.
Here, Ohio State might have the most explosive, deep passing scheme I have ever seen.
You could have just said explosive offense because it's both on the ground and in the air.
It has, like, every single pass play goes for 20-plus yards.
Teams are like,
I'm in danger.
I have no idea Ryan Day's scheming this. Can someone go learn from him and bring this to Michigan? I mean, because if Michigan had half the passing scheme that Ohio State has right now, they would be the 2nd team in the country because they'd be beating teams to death like Ohio State is.
yep.
And now they got Travion Henderson, the true freshman, just absolutely going crazy on the ground. They got the O-line figured out. As long as their defense, again, they've played Indiana, who was playing their 4th-string quarterback. They played Rutgers, and they played Maryland. I still need to see them against a top-line offense. So we're probably not going to get that this week with Penn State because I still don't know if Sean Clifford's healthy. But my guess is the first test is going to be against Michigan State whenever that game is. And I think it's in 2 weeks. But Michigan State, it provides a real offensive challenge for their defense. Yeah. And Alabama.
Really? You're going to break down Alabama playing
No,
Tennessee?
Well, okay. First of all, Tennessee had the lead in the 2nd quarter.
Yeah, no one cares.
Alabama fans.
No one cares!
Alabama fans do. Also, Alabama already has 1 loss. Alabama's on very thin. Like, their defense. This was supposed to be the Nick Saban's best defense ever, right? Yeah. Remember that back to Week 1's podcast?
Yeah. Okay, here's the deal: is they still won. And I need them to lose to another Texas A&M type thing in order for it to happen.
No,
I
understand.
They're on thin ice.
But listen, they now have to win out, including the SEC championship game, to get into the playoff.
Yep.
Because they can't lose even in the SEC championship game on a last-second field goal to Georgia and make it in. There's no way because the Big Ten is way too strong. Ohio State's in, and say if Michigan actually shows up, which isn't going to happen, plays well and only loses by a touchdown late or field goal late, you're telling me the committee's going to put in a 2-loss Alabama over
The
Michigan.
ref can't do the transitive property, and the quarterback runs into the lineman who isn't past the first down, and then the refs say, "Oh, he was clearly past the first down," and then you give him the ball, and then you end up winning by 2 touchdowns.
Right.
Did you tell him still salty about 4 years ago?
It was terrible spot. Joe Klatt, who is a Fox college analyst, he'll be calling.
He's one of the best commentators.
Yes, he'll be calling the game on Saturday. He says Jim Harbaugh's tenure at Michigan can be broken down into 2 snaps. One of it is the drop punt against Michigan State
Yeah.
that they should have won, and the other one is the terrible spot the refs gave them.
The ref ball.
Yep.
Listen, and here's the deal. If that's a standard, like, dive, knees down, where's the ball, I'm not upset about it. It's the fact that he ran into a blocker, and the blocker was behind the line or right on it. And therefore, if you're right on the line and you hit somebody from behind would put you behind the line, then you should be spotted behind the freaking line. Anyway, let's break down this week. We got some good games.
We do indeed. Sorry.
I have to go to premarital, so we really gotta.
We really gotta go. All right.
We
Well,
really gotta go.
you're the one who ranted for 10 minutes.
I know.
So this is on you. All right, let's get this party started. The world's largest cocktail party. Why is it called that? Because a news reporter back all the way in the 80s or 60s or something saw a fan of Florida offer a drink to a police officer on the street. It didn't go well for that fan, but it was known as the world's largest cocktail party. However, the city of Jacksonville has since stopped using that because people played into that. However, ESPN still calls it the world's largest cocktail party. Number 1, Georgia in Jacksonville, neutral site game against Florida. Florida is 14-point underdogs. The over-under is 51. Simeon, you can ponder that. Everyone knows Georgia's the number 1. Georgia is the best team in the nation. They are the number 1 rushing defense. They are the number 1 defense in the country. This is the best offense they will face all year until Alabama later on. Florida is coming off of a bye. Dan Mullen, this is a big game for him. Not that he'll be fired if he'll lose this or anything, but it is sort of concerning that this Dan Mullen team is so undisciplined. Again, in all 3 losses, they've shot themselves in the foot. They've been to all these foot surgeons and have multiple x-rays. And Florida's so one-dimensional. If they can't run the football, they're just bad. They're very balanced, but if they can't run, they're bad. And again, now we're walking into Georgia's number 1 rushing defense. Will it be Anthony Richardson or will it be Emory Jones at quarterback? A lot of people in Gainesville are clamoring for Anthony Richardson, AR-15, but Emory Jones has kind of been the starter, leads them both in passing and rushing. I say you go with Anthony Richardson. He's a little more explosive and he's not a finished product. Can Anthony Richardson throw the ball against Georgia's defense? Really, there's really no doubt who's going to win this game through all the spheres. Now watch me say this and provide the podcast host curse. But Georgia, it's whether or not Florida can keep it within 2 touchdowns. So, Simeon, over under 51.
Here's the thing. I think that's an under, and I think it's a Georgia outright situation. I don't believe in Florida enough.
So
Georgia
covers. Georgia covers. Okay.
Yeah. If here's the deal. I think it sounds weird because math, and that's not how math works. But if Florida gets loses by 10, I think you could get over. But I'm still taking the under.
Also, everyone, I was 3-1 last week. So after a few mediocre weeks and a very down week 2 weeks ago, 3-1. Now my lock of the week didn't hit. It was well under. However, 3-1 because I called both Oklahoma State to cover, but Iowa State to win. So, I am red hot on the season, ladies and gentlemen. So please go make some money off of my picks. I am a steamy 25-17 on the year. What are you still doing?
Here's the deal. When I pick all of the games, I have a much better record than when I just pick one of the games.
Oh, well,
Because I had 4 losses last week. So I've been betting all of it. No, sorry, 6 losses.
Hey, you're getting better.
So that's I had 9. No. It was 4 losses. I had 6 losses the week before. So I went. What would that be? Whatever for 21 there. So yeah.
Hey,
And
you're
I
getting
am
better.
my record in the NFL. Sorry, before I let you move on, my record for the NFL is 74-32.
All right, so Simeon's half decent at picking games. However, what I'm going to say is I thought it was originally Florida plus the points.
No, you picked Georgia.
Yeah, you're right. Georgia's going to win, obviously. I'm picking Georgia minus 14. I think it is a game at halftime, though. I really do. But then I think that either whichever one plays, Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson, they just turn the ball over too much. So I think Georgia covers. Simeon, you can pick the under, whatever. That's fine. I really don't have an opinion on this game. However, let's move to a nightcapper. Number 20, Penn State University at the Horseshoe at night. Number 5, Ohio State. Ohio State's getting 18.5 points. I think that number, I think it's a little high. I think it's more like a 14 point game. Again, I kind of touched on it. This is the best defense Ohio State's going to be playing all year. The only reason I'm going to be watching this game is to see if Michigan stands a shot later in the season, or if Ohio State's just going to muck duck the heck out of every single defense they play. Because if Penn State can't slow them down, then ain't no way Michigan's going to be able to slow them down, because Michigan's offense is too much ball control based. So the more they give it back to Ohio State, it's touchdown, 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 touchdown. Anyway, is their defense really improved? I still don't know. We're going to have to see how Sean Clifford looks. He looked very hurt in the Illinois game. Does that continue? Penn State, Sean Clifford healthy? Can you find a running game? Again, I touched on this already. I have coined this game the game that Micaiah hates, because I don't know who to root for. I just root that something happens and both teams lose. Most of the time I end up rooting for Ohio State because Penn State fans are so obnoxious and it kills my soul.
Live in Pennsylvania, not Ohio.
And we live in Pennsylvania. However, I think I might just watch this game and just kind of root for whoever. Now, if it's close late, I'm going to be rooting for Penn State because I want Ohio State to lose. 2 losses kicks Ohio State out. But again, it's Clifford. Can they find a running game, and can their defense stop Penn State? I do think 18.5 is far too many. Ohio State wins, but Penn State covers. I think this is more of a 14-point game. Or at best, or at worst, it's a 17-point game. Listen, whenever Penn State and Ohio State play, it tends to be in that 14-point kind of range. Penn State always keeps it relatively close with Ohio State. It is on the road, which scares me. Penn State's going to play better than Illinois. Do not let that Illinois loss fool you. They're going to come out. They're going to play better. But again, can they find a running game? Who knows? I don't. So we got Georgia.
You said everything that I said. Move on to the next game.
Oh, well, you're just killing my vibe.
I'm sorry. You made good points.
All right.
I agreed with your breakdown 100%.
I didn't need to add any more, is what you're saying. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
And I wasn't going to need to add any more.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Simeon, your game of the week. Your game of the week, as you texted me, number 19 SMU at 6-1 Houston. Houston lost week 1 to Texas Tech and has won 6 straight. These are the 2 probably hottest teams in college football as of this moment.
This game does not deserve to be on ESPN2.
It does not. It's the fact it would probably be on ESPN, but it's the fact that Penn State and Ohio State are playing.
That's the ABC game. The ESPN game is Ole Miss and Auburn. So
why would that? Okay.
I'm a little bit gypped that Houston isn't ranked. There's enough 2-loss teams here that I think Houston should be ranked.
I agree.
Given their wins. So that's why I think it's the game of the week. I'm not counting Michigan because we are both suckers and we're not going to actually give Michigan the time.
We're not falling for it. Spoiler alert. Okay. So this game is even. Literally on Pick Center, It is even. Yeah. You get the same odds either way. So it's over under 62.5. Houston, listen. Houston is allowing 277 total yards on defense. This is not a Dana Holgerson type team where it's all offense, no defense. They're winning with defense. They allow 173 pass yards a game. Now, SMU in that air raid system passes the ball for 395 yards a game with Tanner Mordecai. Tanner Mordecai, it leads the yes, he was at Oklahoma. Leads the FBS in total in passing touchdowns. He has like 5 interceptions, 29 touchdowns.
29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
7. Okay, I was close. SMU's defense, because they average almost 600 yards offensively, they're giving up 400 yards a game. So Houston's going to get theirs. So Simeon, real quick, the over-under for Penn State, Ohio State was 60. Under, over, not touching.
Over.
Okay.
Listen, if Ohio State's good enough to put up 30, it's whatever Penn State does. So whatever Ohio State's going to make up for whatever Penn State doesn't lay down.
Okay, all right. I would say under I'm going to say under for that because I don't know if you can't even
a question mark.
Yeah, is Clifford going to be Clifford or is Clifford going to be Sean Clifford?
Right.
Which is kind of anyway. So the over under for this is 62. Ponder that for a little bit. Who does Cincinnati root for? You say SMU. I actually say Houston because you want Houston. Houston gets ranked if they beat SMU, and assuming then they can continue on this trend, each team will then only have 1 loss. If Houston has 2 losses and they lose close in the championship game to Cincinnati, losing close to 2-loss Houston team, unranked at the time because they will look worse.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? So I think you want both the teams only to have 1 loss and one SMU to lose to Houston, and then you blow out Houston because that looks better then.
I don't. Here's the thing: is yes, if you're the American Conference, you're also voting for Houston to win as well, because then you have a more even, and you'll have. I think you'll still have 3 ranked teams, even if SMU or Houston's close to 24, you'll still have 3 ranked teams in your conference. The issue that I'm having here is you still have to play both of them. Because Houston's going to win whatever they do, the West or the East, and SMU plays Cincinnati later. So, yeah, I agree with you, but I also, I don't think it's as bad.
No, it's not. It's not as bad. I just think the better situation for Cincinnati would be Houston wins. They both then, after this game, win out. Cincinnati beats them both. They both have 1 loss. They'll both still be ranked because I don't think SMU with a loss to Houston would drop out of the top 25.
Right. Yes.
And Houston would enter, so they both be ranked. That's what you want. If Houston loses this game, Houston's not getting ranked. And so then even if you beat them, you beat an unranked Houston team. Congratulations.
I see what you're saying.
Right? And you only beat 1 ranked team. So anyway, it's 4 style points. Anyway, this is at Houston. It's an even game. It's defense versus offense. Houston's played the closer games. SMU's escaped early in the year against Eastern Carolina, TCU. One of the they had to win on a Hail Mary. Either whoever it was, they had to win on a Hail.
Yeah.
You go Houston here. Just because they are the home team, it's going to be loud. It's at night. They play defense. Okay? SMU, I understand, throws the ball around, but if you look at who SMU has played, they haven't really played a legitimate defense. Like TCU was the biggest game or biggest team they've played, and
100% correct.
And TCU's defense is trash.
Yeah.
Right. Houston here. I think Cincinnati roots for Houston here. If I was Cincinnati and Luke Fickell, I'd root for Houston here. So you go for 6-1. And then you kind of pray, if you're Cincy, that both SMU and Houston both win out.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think I'm taking the under here, and I think I'm taking Houston as well to win this game. Nope. Did I lose him?
Excellent. So Simeon hits the under. Okay,
Oh,
so
no,
the
he
game.
was writing down.
Oh no.
We're good.
Still
You
here?
can hear me. We're good. You might just be. Yeah, you are.
Okay,
You're good.
we're good.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent. I might be back. Anyway, so Old Miss at number 18.
Auburn. This game is kind of another Heisman statement game. Matt Corral's doing everything for Ole Miss. He leads them both in rushing and has this defense turned the corner since the Arkansas game. That is. Oh, I am back. Okay, there we go. I was frozen there for a little bit. I'm going in and out. Anyway,
You're
as
good.
long as
Just
you can
keep
still
talking.
hear me.
You're good. Just keep talking.
Okay,
Go,
great.
go.
Over under 66. I'll let you ponder that. Auburn's at home. Here's the thing with Auburn at home. Bo Nix plays like a Hall of Fame quarterback when he's at home. When Bo Nix is on the road, the Auburn quarterback, he plays like absolute garbage because it's garbage. Can they stop Ole Miss's running game? Because Ole Miss,
Because it's garbage.
like every other team, like the motto of the podcast, it's easy to win football games when you can run the football. Matt Corral, little banged up. He came in the LSU. They ran for 264 yards against LSU. So this is Ole Miss's defense really good, and can Auburn's Bo Nix be still home Bo Nix? So this is who do you trust more? Do you trust Matt Corral and Lane Kiffin, or do you trust Brian Harsin and Bo Nix? By the way, Ole Miss is the 10th ranked team and is the underdog at 2.5. So with that being said, Simeon, over under 66.
That's going to be close. I think because we're in Auburn, I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to take Ole Miss to win because I think they're the more complete team than Auburn is.
In Old Miss as well.
I'm taking Ole Miss plus the 2.5. However, I'm taking basically for the same reason, just stated a little bit differently. I don't trust Bo Nix. Bo Nix is too up and down. Matt Corral is too consistent for me. Ever since he threw 6 interceptions against Arkansas, not this past year, in 2020 when he's been a much different quarterback. And Ole Miss, ever since Lane Kiffin pulled a Nick Saban, like I said, and kind of backhanded complimented his defense live on ESPN, they've been playing against two very good high-powered offenses. So Ole Miss, we are taking. And I'm sorry,
Under on
66.
Yeah, I said under.
Okay, you said I also like that. That's a pretty big number for me as well. Okay, so you might be in the hang of this. Game of the day, or my sorrows will set in for number 6 Michigan going on the road against number 8 Michigan State. The over/under is 50.5. I'm telling you right now, you hammer that under. Whether or not they get to 50, I don't know. But these games have lately been all under 50. So you take the under here. I don't even need Simeon's opinion on that one, and I'm pretty sure he would take the under anyway.
Yep.
So we've talked about Michigan a lot. Do they have some semblance of a passing game? Michigan State's not going to in a rivalry game, let Michigan run it down their throats. Michigan's passing game stepped up to the challenge at Wisconsin. Every single time they are tested at Nebraska, they have answered the bell. Can they do it against a much better defense? And can they keep the ball away against a very explosive, at times, Michigan State offense? They have Peyton Thorne, their quarterback, Naylor, their wide receiver, and Kenneth Walker running out of the backfield. Here's the thing. Michigan State is explosive, but then they're kind of mediocre on offense. Explosive and then mediocre on offense. Meanwhile, Michigan gives you more of that consistency. They're always going to run for 4 or 5 yards. They're going to hit the they're going to keep moving the chains, moving the chains, moving the chains. Michigan's defense is Michigan State and Michigan have very similar defenses. However, this is the first meeting as top 10 opponents since 1964. Lot on the line here. Over under is 50. We're both taking the under. Michigan somehow is 4, and let me tell you why I'm so heart struck. Because Joe Klatt put it so perfectly earlier this week. As Michigan fans, we're waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah.
I've seen this story before. Michigan
Literally against Michigan State 4 years ago.
Yeah,
5 years ago.
Yeah, however many it was, 5 or 6 years ago. We'll probably at some point have a lead in this game, I'm guessing. It's going to be close all the way, which makes my nerves and blood pressure go sky high through the roof. And Michigan's going to blow it. And as a Michigan fan, I cannot tell you in good conscience to bet Michigan. I'll be happy to be wrong. I will take
My total picks thing,
and
I will take the loss and move on with joy.
if it isn't.
I know it's coming.
My
My wife says,
why are you so depressed this week? At 12 noon on Saturday is coming, and the most Michigan play great defense all year up to this point, and then just get run over in explosive after explosive after explosive after explosive plays against Michigan State, like it has seemingly done every single year. So with sadness in my heart, but sadness level of grief, 5 stages of grief, I'm at acceptance, the 5th level. You take Michigan points. If Michigan State to win outright, that's more than fine. You probably got it. But you take points. I'm also taking
the game.
The one weakness of Michigan State's defense is their pass defense. They allow almost 300 yards a game, but that's Michigan's offensive weakness. Simeon, but with Michigan State wins.
Okay, there's 2 things. I'm positive. I'm optimist unlike you. This is my last thing. Last 2 things. I'm an optimist unlike you, so I think Michigan's going to win. It's a tale of 2 defenses, and if you like running the ball, you're going to love this game. If you like old-fashioned football, you're about to love this game. So I still think, because I think Michigan has the better defense, they seem to be more complete. They seem to be better, more team defense oriented. I think Aiden Hutchinson is a top 5 pick, if not top 3. So it's who can run the ball better and who gets that 1 or 2 big throwing plays that you're going to get, and who can get a takeaway or 2. Perfect example was Michigan State against Michigan in the big house under the lights. So that's my final say. Did I lose Micaiah? I might have. Nope, I didn't. He's still there.
I'm hanging on
Barely. I'm hanging
barely
All
here.
right. Then wrap it up. All right. Here's the deal.
Okay, so we're wrapping up. Go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. I was just gonna say Micaiah has an old computer, so it's starting to die on us. I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, there he goes. He just fell off. This has been the 4th and 1 podcast. Micaiah just fell off. I've been Simeon. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next week. We're looking forward, and hopefully Michigan wins. I used the wrong outro music. Sorry, guys.